ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शांति शांति शांति. Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 9 part 2 and chapter 1 and verse 3 of Katha Upanishad. It is through Atma that one knows form, taste, smell, sounds, touches, and carnal pleasures. Is there anything that remains unknown to Atma? This verily is that Atma, which is pure consciousness and the ultimate knower. Is there anything, etc.? All is known through the knowledge of Atma. This verily, etc. That is to say, what Naciketa asked of the king of death as his third boon is nothing but Atma. According to Vedanta, Atma, which is pure consciousness, is the subject of real seer. All outer things, including body, senses, mind, and ego, are the object or the scene. The object is devoid of consciousness. When a sense organ perceives an external object, it is really Atma, that is the perceiver. Atma uses the sense organ as an instrument. For example, when a heated iron ball burns something, it is really the fire that burns and not the iron. The sense organs and outer things consist of inert matter. Both are object of perception. If a sense organ of itself could perceive an object, say a tree, then the latter also could perceive another object. Since self-knowledge is subtle and profound, the idea of the previous verse is restated. Verse 4. It is through Atma that one perceives all objects in sleep or in waking state. Having realized the vast all-pervading Atma, the calm soul does not grieve. A man experiences three states of consciousness in the relative world, namely the waking state, the dream state, and deep sleep. In the waking state, the senses and the mind function. In dreams, the mind alone functions. Dreamless sleep is characterized by an absence of activity on the part of both the senses and the mind. Atma is the witness of the activities of the waking and dream states and of their absence in dreamless sleep. All relative states are subject to change. Atma alone being the witness of all changes is unchanging. A man realizing himself as the immutable Atma becomes free from fear and grief. The individual soul, which is the experiencer of the results of actions and the supporter of the prana and the sense organs, in reality is unconditioned by time and is the supreme lord of all. Verse 5. He who knows the individual soul, the experiencer of the fruits of action as Atma, always near and the Lord of the past and the future, will not conceal himself from others. This verily is that knows, etc. That is to say, realizes the non-duality of the individual soul and Brahma. Individual soul, which is conditioned by the pranas, the senses, and other material adjuncts. Experiencer, etc. The words in the text mean literally honey enjoyer. A man seeks the fruits of action as he would seek honey. Past and future. The present is also to be included. Conceal. As long as a man thinks of Atma as non-eternal and limited, he succumbs to fear and tries to conceal his thoughts and actions from others for his own protection. But if he knows Atma to be non-dual and indestructible, he then has no reason whatsoever to be secretive. The desire for concealment is the outcome of fear, which results from the perception of duality. Ignorance creates the illusory notion of duality. Real strength is derived from the realization of the non-dual Atma. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad narrates the story of the first created being who, finding himself alone in the vast universe, was seized with fear and sought a companion. But at once he said to himself, "There is none else besides me. Why should I fear?" Thus he rid himself of fear. Likewise, when a man shakes off the illusion of duality and realizes that the non-dual Atma alone exists, he becomes fearless. The inmost self, described as the Supreme Lord, is the self of all beings. Verse number 6. He verily knows Brahma, who knows the firstborn, the offspring of austerity, created prior to the waters and dwelling with the elements in the cave of the heart. This verily is that firstborn, that is to say, Hiranyagarbha. He is the first manifestation through Maya of Brahma in the relative universe, offspring of austerity, desirous of creation. The Lord Saguna Brahma practiced austerity, which consisted of intense thinking or brooding. All creation is the result of intense thinking. Waters, that is to say, the five elements. The five elements were evolved after Hiranyagarbha. Elements, the material elements constituting the body and the senses, are held together by the law of cause and effect. Desirous of creation, Brahma subjects itself to intense thinking. The first result of this thinking is Hiranyagarbha, or the world soul. Next are evolved the five material elements, which in turn produce the bodies of all creatures: gods, man, animals, birds, trees, and so on. Then Brahma enters into these bodies as their soul. Thus individualized, he dwells in the hearts of all, surrounded by the pranas and the organs, and experiences various objects. Hiranyagarbha and individual soul, being the offspring of Brahma, are of the same nature as Brahma, as ornaments made of gold are nothing but gold. Furthermore, verse 7. He verily knows Brahma, who knows Aditi, the soul of all deities, who was born in the form of prana, who was created with the elements, and who, entering into the heart, abides therein. This verily is that Aditi, the eater or experiencer, an epithet applied to Hiranyagarbha, because as the world soul, he is the experiencer of sound, taste, and all other objects of the universe, soul, etc. That is to say, who contains within himself all beings. The deities are mentioned here because they are superior beings in the relative universe. Prana, the word refers to Hiranyagarbha, who is the cosmic life created with the elements. The reference is to the individual soul, which appears to be born with the material elements that constitute the physical body, abides, etc., as the individual soul. This verse, like the previous one, refers to Hiranyagarbha, the first manifestation of Brahma in the relative universe. Another manifestation of Brahma is the Jiva, or individual living being. Both in essence are identical with Brahma. He who knows Brahma is its aspect of Hiranyagarbha, and Jiva knows it well indeed. Knowledge of the manifest universe and the world soul leads to the knowledge of the absolute. The Upanishads, contrary to the opinion of superficial critics, insist on knowledge of the manifest universe as a prerequisite for the knowledge of ultimate reality. The Indo-Aryans of Vedic times cultivated a thorough knowledge of the world. Such knowledge in the end creates this passion for the world and spurs the seeker to the search for Brahma, the unchanging reality. If a person is born with true this passion for material objects, the Vedantic teachers explain it by saying that he must have acquired a thorough knowledge of the manifold universe in previous incarnations. The manifested Brahma or the universe is in reality non-different from pure consciousness. It is Maya that makes the apparent difference. The same idea is reiterated. Verse 8. Agni, hidden in the two fire sticks and well guarded like a child in the womb by its mother, is worshipped day after day by men who are awake and by those who offer oblations in the sacrifice. This verily is that Agni. The word refers both to the visible fire into which sacrifices offer their oblations and to Virat or the world soul, whom the yogis contemplate in their hearts. Fire sticks. In the Vedic sacrifice, fire was produced by the rubbing of two sticks of wood known as the lower and upper arni, well guarded by both the sacrificers and the yogins, like a mother who protects her unborn child by means of well regulated food and drink. By men who etc. refers to the yogins who are always alert and watchful regarding their spiritual discipline. By those who offer etc. refers to householders who daily offer oblations in the sacrificial fire as one of their spiritual disciplines. It is Hiranyagarbha who is obviously worshipped by the yogis and the sacrificers as Agni or fire. One who knows Hiranyagarbha knows Brahma. In this verse too, the Vedic seer asks aspirants to cultivate knowledge of the universe and its controlling soul. The discussion of Brahma alone as the soul and essence of the manifested universe is concluded. Verse 9. When the sun rises and whither it goes to set, in whom all the devas are content and whom none can ever pass beyond, this verily is that. Whence refers to prana, the world soul, which is seed of all the tangible objects in the universe. Devas, the word refers to the deities such as the god of fire and god of wind, the god of heaven, and so on, and also to the various sense organs of living beings are contained like the spoke like the spokes of a wheel attached to the nave. The text describes the manifestation of Brahma as prana in both its cosmic and its individual aspect. All the shining deities arise from prana, are sustained by it, and in the end, during the state of non-manifestation, become one with it. At the time of the next creation, they again emerge from prana. This is also true of the sense organs and the individualized prana. They too merge in the prana at the time of dreamless sleep and again emerge from it in the waking state. According to Vedanta, the different forms of consciousness that control the activities of the gods are the same as those that control the activities of the sense organs. The foregoing four verses describe the ultimate non-duality of the attributeless Brahma, the world soul, and the individual soul. Brahma is the final cause of the other two. The cause appears as effect through Maya. There is no intrinsic difference between the cause and the effect. The whole creation is Maya. Brahma alone is real. Some may object to the statement that everything is Brahma, for all individual embodied beings from the exalted Hiranyagarbha down to the blade of grass are associated with upadhis and are subject to birth and death, whereas Brahma or pure consciousness is free from all this. Brahma and the embodied beings, they may say, are completely dissimilar in character, therefore they cannot be identical. This objection is denied. Verse number 10. What is here the same is there, and what is there the same is here. He goes from death to that who sees any difference here. What is here? That is to say, what appears to non-discriminating persons as a phenomenal being subject to the laws of time, space, and causation, but from the standpoint of truth, is nothing but pure Brahma. The same is there refers to Brahma, which is absolute and immutable consciousness free from all relativity. What is there? Pure consciousness, which is the inmost self of all. The same is here. What appears to be a phenomenal being subject to the conditions of name and form, cause and effect, death to death. The unillumined soul is subject to repeated births and deaths, which are characteristics of the relative world. Any difference, such notions as I am other than the Supreme Brahma or the Supreme Brahma is other than me. The apparent difference between the Jiva or individual being and the Creator results from the Upadhi or limiting adjunct. The Upadhi is created by Maya or ignorance, that is to say, Brahma or pure consciousness appear through Maya to be conditioned by cosmic ignorance and then now becomes known as the Creator. And the same Brahma, when conditioned by the individual Buddhi, appears as the Jiva. With the destruction of ignorance, the limiting conditions are also destroyed. Then one sees Brahma alone everywhere. Here, that is to say, in Brahma, which has never become the many. When a man becomes, he takes the dream objects to be real. On awakening, he realizes them to be unreal, but takes the waking objects to be real. On the attainment of knowledge, the same person realizes the waking experiences to be as illusory as the dream ones. Though Vedanta makes a distinction from the relative standpoint between waking experiences, dream experiences, and illusory perceptions, yet from the standpoint of absolute reality, all three experiences are equally unreal. Therefore, the aspirant should discard all multiplicity and see everywhere Brahma, the all-pervading consciousness. Thus alone can be overcome fear which is caused by the perception of duality. The instrument by which ignorance is destroyed and the non-dual Brahma realized is a mind purified by the instruction of a teacher and the practice of spiritual discipline. Verse number 11 of chapter 1 of part 2 of Katha Upanishad. By the mind alone is Brahma to be realized, then one does not see in it any multiplicity whatsoever. He goes from death to death who sees multiplicity in it. This verily is that mind. When the mind becomes pure through practice of spiritual discipline, one realizes Brahma as a mass of homogeneous non-dual consciousness. Then the knowledge of Brahma destroys ignorance, the cause of the perception of multiplicity. The illumined soul sees as Brahma the manifold universe, which to the ignorant appears as other than Brahma. The nature of Brahma is hard to understand. Verse number 12. The Purusha of the size of a thumb dwells in the body. He is the Lord of the past and the future. After knowing him, one does not conceal oneself anymore. This verily is that Purusha, person. It is an epithet applied to Brahma on account of its dwelling in the body and of its filling the whole universe. Thumb. The Vedantic mystics conceive of the heart as a lotus bud of the size of a thumb, within which there is a luminous space, whereas Brahma is manifest. The aspirant uses this space in meditation as a symbol of Brahma. Furthermore, stanza number 13, the Purusha of the size of a thumb is like a flame without smoke. The Lord of the past and the future, He is the same today and tomorrow. This verily is that flame, etc. This is how Atma should be meditated upon. It is pure light without a trace of smoke or worldliness. Today, etc. Atma always remains the same, unaffected by the actions of the body and the mind. The yogins contemplate Atma in their hearts as the Lord of the past and the future, the same everlasting and unchanging Atma. The Upanishad says dwells now in the hearts of all and also will dwell there in the future. The idea is that there exists none who is equal to Atma or separate from Atma, nor will there be any such being in the future. The perception of multiplicity in the non-dual Brahma is again condemned. So I conclude this video here. Next video number 10 will start with verse number 14 of chapter 1 of part 2 of Katha Upanishad. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar my dear friend.